Welcome once again to all of you joining today on the AI and Local Government Network. Super excited to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about something that I think is a pain point for a lot of local governments, that code review and how time consuming it is, how monotonous it can be. And we have with us today our gold sponsor for this webinar, Blitz Permits, and they have some incredible solutions for this that I wanted you all to at least be aware of. Hopefully draw and incite some conversations between them and other solutions like this to start actually fixing this huge backlog that comes with code review and how time consuming it is. So I'm excited to have their team join with us today. A little bit, I'll have Brittany pop on and introduce herself, introduce team members that are with her today, and we'll dive into this. Of course, also want to mention our longtime partner and friend of the AI and Local Government Network, Clerk Minutes, for their continued support of this platform. And also to thank you all. All of you have done a phenomenal job letting people know about this, getting the word out, watching these videos, watching YouTube videos. I was looking the other day, and this is absolutely just incredible. On average, on the YouTube channel where I post these videos on after the fact, I get about 100 plus views on those videos, which may not sound like a lot, but for a webinar in a niche like local government, typically views don't hit the triple digits. So the fact that we're hitting triple digit is a huge part to you all. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you for doing that. Thank you for your support of my work here. It really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate everyone who's been so supportive. As we begin, please put any comments you have into the chat below. I will monitor those chats. If you're watching this, one of the 100 plus views on YouTube, and you're watching this and you have a question as well, put in the comments below, and I'll make sure that gets over to the Blitz Permits team, and we can make sure your questions are answered. So with that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Brittany. Brittany, if you don't mind, introduce yourself and any of your team members that are on here as well too, and we can learn more about AI-enabled comprehensive code review solutions.
Yes, thanks, Micah. Real quick, thumbs up. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes, and just quick preface, if I pause or anything, I've got Xfinity, if you know the pain of Xfinity, and things have not been the same since Helene came through, so just bear with me, okay? It is definitely hurricane season on our side of the US. So my name is Brittany Griffin. I am the senior planner for Blitz Permits and the SME on the urban planning side. I have Amitesh Tyagi with us. He is the brains behind what is AI, and I've got him here in case you have any AI questions, because me, the urban planner, I can talk to you about how to speak to your urban planners about adopting AI and telling them it's not Skynet, despite what some of us may think. Amitesh is here, and he can talk about the ins and outs and what AI really is. So I'm going to get you started. And real quick, while we're through this, please feel free to use the chat function. I don't like it when people in webinars speak to me. I like conversations. So raise your hand, or if you don't want to raise your hand, hop in and ask a question. If you don't want to ask a question, toss it in the chat. Thanks, Micah, and we will make sure we'll grab them on the way. So real quick, we are Blitz Permits. We are a startup out of Tampa, Florida. We've been around we went public in April, but we've been around for a little bit over 2 years now. How many people here, while I'm looking at, are actually in government, Micah? Is most of our attendees today government involved, GovTech, city administrators?
Correct. It's a wide variety of folks. Most of us have either work in local government or have direct ties to local government.
Got it. Perfect. So you guys will completely know what I'm talking about this. So myself, I've been an urban planner now for about 11 years. 8 of that spent municipally for an MPO, multiple city county reviews. Our owners, Arjun and Aditi, both came from the architecture world. Aditi went the architecture route after she graduated, and Arjun went the development route. What we've all seen in the municipal world when it comes to development is permit delays. In 2020, our lives were completely tossed. That is an extreme understatement. Everything we know was completely restructured, including the field of development. And we were already suffering with housing delays from the 2007 crisis that we never caught up with. Same with the infrastructure we're now seeing now that we have to fix. So 2020, we've got that on top of it. COVID is making everything pause. There was a great incline on development right before COVID. Interest rates were sitting at 3%. Awesome. That's great. But COVID came through. There was a pause on a lot of issues. And with that pause in development, with us being out of office, interest rates jacked up. So they had a project in Florida. They had gotten the group together. They had gotten their shareholders. They had submitted their plans. But from the time when they submitted their plans that it was a 3% interest rate, it took 18 months to get that plan review through the process, the rinse and repeat of building, planning, engineering, entitlement, comments, send it back to the developer. Then you come back, building, planning, engineering, entitlement, get those comments, and you send it back to the developer. By the time they went through that rinse and repeat cycle, it had been 18 months and the interest rates had gone up to 8 or 9% then, and shareholders had dropped out of the project. And that's something we've seen nationwide. That's not just a Florida issue. I'm in Atlanta. That's not just an Atlanta issue. Nationwide, the time it takes for us to get projects off the ground through the permitting and the entitlement process is something that we're here to tackle. So our question is, how do we as a company give municipalities back the power to get these permits quicker? Give me a second. Sorry, I went the wrong way. Some of the things that we notice municipalities are facing, and you guys can probably all speak to this, we don't have enough employees. We don't have enough workers at the municipal level. There's not enough trained staff when it comes to planning, building, engineering. Like Micah said, AI is niche. Planning and development is also a little bit of a niche. We don't have enough people going through schools and getting those educations to fill in these positions. So not only do we have a problem hiring, we have a problem with retention. When you get people in, you've got to get them trained up. When you get them trained up, codes are difficult. The IBC, the IRC, any state building code, any local municipal code you have on top of your building code, your American Society of Civil Engineers, your planning and zoning code, that is a lot of codes you have to know. So when you're getting these plans and you're reviewing these plans at the government level where it all starts, you're going through multiple codes, you're going through multiple checkpoints. No, so with that, you've got your overworked and your underutilized staff. 8 to 5, that's what we all want to work as a municipal employee, but there's no guarantee we're going to get an 8 to 5. You work your 8 to 5, and then you might have a commission meeting, city county commission. You may have a planning commission, a board of adjustments, an HPC commission meeting after work. So not only are you spending all day doing site plan review, you've got things in the afternoon. The process itself, when it comes to permitting review and workflow, it's fragmented. There are so many hands in the pot when it comes to reviews. There are so many items you're having to touch base with, emails being exchanged, going back and forth with the developer, that we need to find a way to bring it back together. And then code complexity and human error. If you've ever looked at the IBC, the IRC, how often it's updated, some people are using the 24, some people are using 21, 18, 15. It changes municipality to municipality. You may have, I'm going to admit them real quick. You may have inherited a code from somebody that was there 20 years before and it hasn't been updated. It's got band-aids in it. It's got amendments in it. It's got some unfinished sentences. You can't really tell what they were trying to figure out when they wrote the code. That's just some of the base issues that our development review teams are facing. So when it comes to permit review, which is what our company is trying to fix, we asked ourselves, okay, with these 3 big items, how can we bring in AI? How can we fix these? How can we take permit review from months down to days or hours? Even places that have already reduced their permit review from months to weeks to days, how can we still shorten that so we can get these permits approved quicker, so we can get housing off the ground quicker? And when they brought me in, one of the things I told them is, if this works, it's not an if, it's a when this works, when we get AI in the development process and when we can get planners and builders, engineers, and your development review team to trust AI, we can use this as something to help us fix that housing crisis we're seeing nationwide. No one should make $80,000 and still have to live in their car because they cannot afford the rental or to buy within an area. We need more housing. We know that. All of us have worked local government who's on here. That's something we're seeing in every community from the smallest community to our big cities. So the question is, how do we fix it? And that's where Blitz Permits comes in with AI, hoping to fix that issue. And while I'm on here, like I said, I don't like being talked to. I like to have a conversation. Are there any other issues that anybody on here has experienced in their development team that they've adopted successfully technology to help solve? Anybody?
Don't be shy, y'all. If there's anything you're working on that is innovative, doesn't have to be within the permitting or code review
Mm-mm.
space, anything at all. Love to hear from y'all.
Something you posted, Micah, and I'm throwing this in there since nobody else popped up, your chat GPT on your staff reviews. You did a video on that, what, I think a few weeks ago. I watched it on your YouTube.
Mhm.
Myself as a planner, I never thought to use chat GPT for my staff reviews for my planning commission, but brilliant. Able to save time. And that's the point of AI, is saving you time. If it takes you 20 minutes to do something, why not automate that? Because if you're doing those 20 minutes multiple times a day when it comes to site plan review, 5 or 6 times a day, how much does that add up to? Give yourself that time back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
seriously. Chat GPT, great. And that's what the idea of Blitz is there. It's to give your development team their time back because as a planner, oh, hey,
We have a comment from Chris. He says we've had a
yes.
tremendous amount of turnover in our planning and zoning staff over the past 15 months. This looks promising. I
Yep.
agree. I agree, Chris. Yeah, very, very much agree. And Clay asks, is it a big challenge to get plans review staff to adopt this technology? How often are you seeing people doing the same work as before, not seeing as much time as they could because they are checking the AI? That's a really great question,
That is a good
Clay.
question.
Brittany, what are you seeing there?
I'm going to start with Clay first, and then I'll bump to the next slide because we're going to answer. Actually, I'm going to start with Chris first. Clay, I'm going to answer your slide in the PowerPoint. But yes, Chris, tremendous turnover. I'm still fairly young at 35. I like to consider myself a young planner. I've been in the field, like I said, about 10 years. And I went recently back and got my master's with a bunch of these young kids coming up. You know, they just got their bachelor's, they're just in their master's field. But I am shocked at the amount of kids coming up through. And then when kids get into these local governments, they're not jaded yet. They have those bright eyes. They're like, yes, I'm going to change the world. And then that's when you start to see that turnover. Definitely, you're not the only one, Chris. Like it's happening nationwide. It's keeping the kids, not even keeping the kids, keeping the established ones. And then with Clay, jumping on that, and I'll go into more depth in the PowerPoint. But yes, I've been on most of the sales calls. It is a big challenge, and Micah can probably talk to this because he's got the AI in local government. With the planners ourselves, architects seem to be ahead of the curve when it comes to adopting any type of technology. Go architects. Urban planners, bless us. The APA Foresight Committee, the American Planning Association, has just taken on AI, studying the idea of AI. That's something I recommend everybody looking up into. American Planning Association, Foresight, Foresight. AI has been the big thing for the last 2 or 3 years within their annual recommendations. So that should say a lot for urban planners. In the last 2 to 3 years, the National Association that certifies planners has started looking into AI. Field, we are still working the same way we were 40 years ago with pen and paper, getting people to come into our office. We now have people that are embracing, thank you. We now have people that are embracing that idea of embedded planning, of taking yourself out behind your desk into your community. It's not just taking yourself into your community, it's also educating yourself on what can I do to make my community better. And a lot of planners, because we don't have as many young ones coming up, still think that the idea of AI is Skynet because we have all these movies. There's even a new one on Prime right now. Somebody can remember the name that talks about an AI in a house that attacks the family. It's brand new up on Prime. They see that and they become fearful of AI. We're planners, we're supposed to embrace anything that can help our community, but that fear is definitely in the field. A little bit from lack of education. A lot of universities haven't provided those AI courses yet to educate planners. I like to say that our building officials are about the same, but most state building associations have been really good at pushing the idea of tech. So kind of a big challenge. It just really depends on how open the planner or the developer is. So, but it is very new in this development field. That's why you're seeing companies finally embrace the idea of how can we give planners, building officials, engineers something to get their job done quicker. So, and then how often are you seeing people doing the same work before, not saving as much time as they could because they are checking AI? So that's one of the things, if you check Foresight, that the American Planning Association recommends, because they're just now talking about generative AI. We're a little bit past generative AI here at Blitz, but the planners still have the idea of trusting the AI. And I don't think it's so much that the AI is wrong, because the AI it's grasping the field very well, what we've seen with Gen AI and LLMs. But it's the lack of trust that the builders, the planners, the engineers have in the tech, because we haven't always used tech in this field. We're still a pencil and a T-square group of people, you know? Um, GIS, ARC, Esri products, those are still mind-blowing to a lot of us, even though we use them daily. So it's getting over that trust. And what I've realized is when you sit and you talk to these people about AI and you're talking to people in the development field, the first thing you have to do is get that fear. Hey, what are you afraid of? Okay, if I can ensure you that the AI is going to be correct, and let's go through this a few times, then you can get them past that. I'm having to check this every time. They'll start to trust. So not only do they have to trust themselves, but they have to trust the AI. But that was a really good question. Thank you, Clay. Jumping on to kind of answer some of that. So how does Blitz here solve the problem of, jumping back so we can see this, overworked and underutilized staff? So Chris Clark kind of goes with yours. Big turnover, they get in here and they say, this is a lot of work. This is not what they told me in school. Okay. Opaque and fragmented process, and then code complexity and human error falling in with Clay's question. What Blitz is doing is we are coming in and offering a service. We are not a product, because what most people don't understand in the development world, planners, builders, engineers, your development team, is that the AI grows as your code grows. Code does not stay the same. I know, Micah, you work in yours. It changes yearly. Zoning code changes monthly. IBC, IRC, it's constantly changing. So your program has to change to meet that need. So that's why we are robust and scalable technology. We're personalized and we're customized. And I love that Amitesh is on here with me, because him and I go back and forth on, well, what's personalized? What's customized? We personalize the project to you and we customize it to your needs, because code is constantly changing. And with that, we have a program where you run code through, you take a site plan and you run it through, and you get a compliance report in minutes. And I'll show you a brief snippet of a compliance report in a second. And that goes back to your question, Clay. Well, okay, they get a compliance report. The planner and the builder will get a report telling them what's right and what's wrong on the plan. Do they trust the results? What we do is we come in, we customize it for them. We are with them every step of the way. Because we are a service, they have access to our planners, they have access to our engineer team. There's constant conversation. Are you, as the planner, trusting these results? Are you, as the building official, trusting these results? How can we fix this for you? Because code is not necessarily about how it's read. It's about how it's interpreted, which is what our development people hate. They're like, well, your code says A plus B equals C. Well, yes, I know that, Mr. Developer, but there's an asterisk you missed on that C. And that's in any code. Public safety, public works, streets, planning, building, there's always an interpretation factor. So we have to come in and we hold your hand through the way, making a team together, your team plus my team, giving you those reports. And then another thing is easy deployment. Planners, building officials, engineers, your development team, we'll start saying development team, they're afraid of AI. Some of them are afraid of computers. The idea of using Word, mind-blowing. Email, just drop it off on my desk. So what Blitz decided to help expedite these code reviews, if we're going to serve people who don't like to use technology, how do we do that? So that's where we came up with the idea of easy deployment. We've put together a portal that a silver-haired 60 ready for retirement employee can use. Super easy, no questions to ask, because you don't want to come in with automating something. You don't want to come in with AI. You don't want to come in with tech and then be like, oh, what is this? I've got to learn this. I'm out of the door in 3 years. It's not going to work. You have to get them to trust the tech. And that's kind of the big conversation I think we're missing in the AI world right now, is convincing these more senior haired individuals, because they can still be there another 10 or 15 years, to trust the tech. Because if they trust the tech and they make the decision on whether or not you adopt it, they're the ones you got to focus on, because your kids coming in, they trust it. They're seeing it kind of in school. I mean, my 7-year-old godson can do AI better than I can, and because he's learning it in kindergarten, he's learning it in STEM class. So that's what we have to do, is we have to make it easy. We have to make it deployable and quick customization. Nobody wants to spend 6 months like they do training a permit program. They don't want to spend another 6 months training an AI. So that's what you're here for.
And Brittany too, something that's interesting is the conversations I've had with people across the US the past year and a half. I'm actually seeing that the quote unquote senior haired, the wise individuals are more open to adopting AI than some of the folks in my generation. And I think a lot of it has to do with the content that we bring
Mhm.
in. And how often have you seen the news article that says AI does this awesome thing? Most of the time those news articles are, oh, this dangerous thing happened with AI. And it's important to understand that danger, but we're flooded with more negative information than we are with positive information. And that's one of the things we want to do with this network, is let people know that there are certainly dangers. There are certainly pitfalls to be careful of. There's also a lot of good we can do with the AI. The more we
Mhm.
let people know about the good, we can trust people to be able to navigate for that.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, Micah, because that goes with the Blitz solutions. One of the big things I've noticed throughout the process of Blitz, going from planning to this field now, is this going to take my job? And that's the kind of the trust factor. My husband is an
Mhm.
engineer, and once upon a time, his job was 100% on hand. They went in there and they did it, and now my husband sits behind a computer and the AI does it for him. But what planners, development people, builders don't understand is you've still got to be there to guide the AI and to make those good decisions. You are the one holding the joystick, telling it how to interpret the code. It is not going to replace your job. And it's going to come in, and you're right. We do have some clients with the silvered hair they've been just great pushing. Are like, hey, it's here. Let's definitely try it. So definitely big supporters on pushing it. But the whole idea of the AI coming in, taking the job, no, you've still got to be there behind it to train it. It is there to be an assist to you. It's assistive. And with Blitz permits, that's one of the big things we came when we decided to do this, is we are not generative. We are an assistive AI tool, and I can let Amitesh speak to that at the question and answer section a little bit more. We're not replacing your planners. We're not replacing your building officials. We are giving your planners and your building officials a tool to make site plan review shorter. Instead of spending 2 hours on a construction plan, we're giving you the answers to the test, shortening your review time. So yes, there will still be a little bit of back and forth checking, because in the planning field, in the building field, we like to do something called defensible decisions. I'm pretty sure that's something in every field. At some point in local government, it's not if you go to court, it's when you go to court, is what my director always told me. So you've always got to make a defensible decision. So with that, we're giving you the answers for you to shorten your review time. You still check back and forth. You are still the controller of the AI. The answers that it gives you, it's a cheat sheet. And that's the big thing that we're here to tell people. Few other things while we're on that topic. Are there any other new technologies that anybody has implemented in their local government or on their development review teams that have been pretty cool? I know we mentioned ChatGPT a second ago, but has anybody done anything fun?
Anyone at all, feel free to unmute yourself or just jump in the chat or something like that. Feel free to jump in at all.
Anybody?
I know this is
Okay.
such a new technology too. I think something that's happening is it seems to be such a new technology that we're kind of curious. Okay, who's gonna be the first person to kind of dive in and take
Yeah.
that first step to learn from it? Um, and so in light of that too, and with these stuff too, trying to figure out, okay, how to get our brain around the actual problem too. in preparation for the Q&A here shortly, I'd love to have you all speak to Brittany and to her team about what are some of the pain points that you're seeing within development services and the code review process. What are some of the issues that you're seeing within your local government, within your context?
Definitely. Thank you. Okay, pop into the next one. So what are we at Blitz? We've got a threefold process at Blitz, and this was one of the things that when I came on board as a planner, how do we keep it with the people? How do we keep it in the community? Because when you're speaking to development officials, builders have a code of conduct, engineers, they have their code, and planners, we have our code, the AICP. We have a code of ethics that we abide by. And AI is so new. How do we embrace that? And how do we get the planners and the building officials and the rest of us? So Blitz, we do it threefold. We're looking at the people because you are using the AI. The AI is assistive. We are looking at the process. How do you review the site plans? How can we fix these reviews so we can get houses off the ground quicker? We don't want these plans to be stuck in a 3-month process of review because one, your planner, your building official is going to have to review that plan 6 times. And I can promise they would rather go to lunch. So how do we bring technology in to fix that? So with the people, what Blitz has decided to do is we want to empower your regulators being your development review team. How do we give the power back to them? How do we give them their time back to prevent employee burnout? Like I mentioned earlier, you're doing an 8 to 5. That's not counting your commute. You've probably got Planning Commission, Board of Adjustments, HPC, City County Commission, and then anything else your director or city manager is going to require you after hours if you're one of those municipalities. If your planners and your building officials are burning out, how are they going to serve their communities? Because planning department, your building officials are some of the first ones that see your community. They're the ones that get the complaint calls every day. Mr. Smith has chickens in the backyard. What are you going to do to fix that? You're getting those complaints. So-and-so has a shed up. So not only are they doing site plan review, they're also taking the calls. And then a big thing is happier citizens is happier elected officials. And our elected officials at the government level, they're the high bosses. So if we keep our citizens happy, we keep our elected officials happy. So with that, we've got to address the process of site plan review. How can we fix it? Blitz can come in, we build a program for you. So it's not a product, it is a service that grows. We customize a product to your code. Everybody's code when it comes to planning is different. You've got the IBC and the IRC, which are national codes, but you do still have your own local building code. You've got some amendments here and there. We customize for those for you within the program, and we stay your best friends along the way because Atlanta's going to probably have a zoning amendment once or twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. We got to customize that. We got to fix the AI. We're not going to disappear on you. Seamless integration. Do you have a customer management system? A place where citizens log online and they submit their applications instead of dropping them off at your doorstep? That's another thing, getting the developers to submit online. That's trusting that tech. When you've probably still got a reviewer who's like, I still liked mine paper. We do seamless integration. With an API, we can plug into your customer management system. So when a developer submits it online, Blitz reviews it before you even open your employee portal on your side. Minimal onboarding steps. Nobody wants to spend 6 months building a product, onboarding a product, and learning how a button clicks. So minimal onboarding steps, very people friendly. And we want to give you results back. So I'll get to the data-driven actionable insights in the next slide, and I've got a question that goes on that one. We're robust, scalable, and adaptable. We get with you, like I said, we get your codes, and that's how we build the tech, because the tech is about the code, and it's not just how the code reads. The tech is about the interpretation of the code. So when we meet with you and your team, we ask you, how do you interpret your zoning code? How do you interpret all these chapters? Secure cloud servers. We know the big market study was IT does not want you downloading software. They don't want hardware on their computers. So we are cloud-based. You can access it on your phone. You can access it on a tablet. You can access it on your computer. So you're not going to have to wait and download it. Personalized, I went over that. And unbeatable speed and accuracy. I have an accuracy test here on another slide from one of our clients, but you're seeing these results, these plans being reviewed in seconds to minutes. Single page plot plans reviewed in 20 to 30 seconds to much larger 60 sheet industrial plans being reviewed up 4 to 8 minutes, depending on your plan size. So much quicker than having a planner review, 200, 300 minutes a day. So this is what I mentioned in Scorecard. We build it out. This is from one of our current clients that's in the customization phase with us. We've built the product for them. They're testing the product. They're currently at a 97% accuracy for the code we have on the back end. So we take the code, we take the quantifiable items on the back end, the values, zoning codes, if you're familiar, front setback, rear setback, side setback, all those quantifiables. It doesn't take a planner to interpret it. You can see an example here on the right. This is a quick clip from one of the reports. And it runs through the system. And when it runs through the system, it'll give you a list of items that are compliant. They match your code on the back end. The front setback on the plan, on the drawing, matches your code on the back end. As a planner, that means I don't have to sit there and match it up, the drawing to my site data table. I can look at this. It's done the work for me. I'll probably double check it just because I like defensible decisions, but I don't need to spend 10 minutes on it. I don't need to set my scale. Same for minimum side setback, geometric. I'm looking at the drawing. It's done the scaling for me. I don't have to go into Bluebeam and set my scale and measure it because the AI has done what would normally take me 2 or 3 minutes to set a scale. It's done it in seconds, and that adds up on my time review. What we do, though, in the beginning to get individuals to trust the AI is we have a team of planners and we do a manual review versus a blitz review because this isn't 97% accuracy. And when people come on board, I'm like, nothing's ever 100%. Even your manual reviews as the planner, a building official, and engineer, they're going to miss something on that first review. And then when it gets submitted for a second review, they're going to call their director and be like, I missed this. What's the excuse I need to make to cover our butts? And I know you know what I'm probably talking about, Micah. It's like, I missed this. And they're like, just stick it in there. They won't notice.
And that's
That's
why
what we do.
isn't that why we have multiple review processes,
Yes,
right? It's because
exactly.
we understand that we make mistakes for humans. That's okay. And that's
Yep.
why we have systems to have multiple reviews of this process to account for that.
Yep, that is a good point. We do. And it's the same with the AI. Like I said, 97%, this was after working with them for a few weeks. With the Blitz review, we caught 7 compliant items and 53 non-compliant items. There was one of the non-compliant items was one of those interpretation things. You looked at it, it was kind of like, well, I actually think that's compliant, even though it appears non-compliant. So with the manual review, it ended up being 8 and 52. And we do that in the beginning with the municipality when they come on board. We sit and we review and we go back and forth to get your intent. So the intent of the planning, the intent of the building. And it's all about trust. So real quick review, because the goal of Blitz is to reduce the time you spend on site plan review. Simple as that. How can we make happier citizens? How can we improve real estate in your area? How can we get houses off the ground? So we did a ROTI, return on time investment, also known as a good bread. So does your team realize how much time that they could save? We've heard a lot of people say, well, it takes me 20 minutes to review that plan. I don't need assistance. But you're doing that 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. And that 20 minutes is adding up. Time that you could be spending, your building official could be on site, looking at actual in person, looking at sites, or your planners could be writing long range comprehensive codes, things you normally spend $150,000 on a consultant for. You're getting that time back. So we worked with 5 plan reviewers from clients, and you see zoning, landscape, zoning, and landscape. When I say zoning, we're talking entitlement. You're looking at front, side, rear setbacks, FAR, lot coverage, variables on a property. It took the planner that was reviewing this 212 minutes to do the full review. It took 12.5 minutes to run the plan through the Blitz portal. And when they double checked the Blitz results to the manual, which goes back to Clay's question of checking the AI, so there was still a due diligence part. Compared to the 212 minutes, we've got, what is it? 42.5, we'll say 45 minutes. That's somebody do the math because I'm not a math person. Clearly, it's less than half. So
Hmm.
the amount of time that they saved on that, yes, Clay, there was a back and forth on the checking it, but the fact that you were able to save that much time, I don't see why you're not using AI, why you're not automating these programs. Here's another one, 89 minutes on landscape. Landscape, you're looking at things like one tree per so many square feet. You're looking at VUA, vehicle use area. You're looking at parking, trees. You're looking at shrubs, making sure it's not an invasive species. It's on the approved tree list. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you get in there and you have to hand count shrubs to make sure that your developer is not shorting you some, it actually takes a lot of time. So it was 89 minutes for that. We cut time in half, 33 minutes with that due diligence, 8 minutes when you ran the report. McDonald's entitlement, and this was zoning and landscape. So you're looking at both. It cut everything over half for some of these, but the time saved, even though you are still doing a comparison, you're looking at the manual report and you're looking at the Blitz report, still saved you a significant amount of time. And that's time planners. I don't think planners know how to work outside of time poverty. We've always been time poor. So it's kind of mind-blowing when people see that, hey, I can automate this. Well, what am I going to do with myself now? So you spend time on those things you normally contract out, you can bring it back home, saving your citizens money and time. Real quick, while I'm here, this is a big question. Happier citizens, happier elected officials. And you always have to prove to your elected officials why you're spending money on something, especially if you've got one of those extremely fiscally conservative elected officials who doesn't want to spend money on anything, because that's just how they are. Are there any particular data points that you would look for to give to your elected official to prove that it's worth spending money for, other than time return on investment? Do you get what I'm asking? Like if I was your elected official and I said, okay, show me the data that this is actually working. Show me that AI or automation tech actually makes your job easier and I'm cool with you spending money. What would you give me? Or what would you ask for?
I think the time investment is a huge part of it. And then you can translate that into how many labor hours or things like
Mm,
that you're getting. And so some things we do here is we look at the time saved for different, it doesn't have to be technology either, it can be different types of
mm,
innovations.
yeah.
And you look at that at that solution. So, okay, hey, by doing this, I have saved this much amount of time. So you can see for the zoning gas station for those different areas, you've saved over 100, just doing a quick math right here, you've saved over 200 hours worth of time, right? And you
Hmm.
multiply that over the course of the year,
Yeah.
then is that, basically you're almost in a way getting another full-time position or other
Hmm.
part-time position. And so those things add up. Just way of the way to think about the data and kind of go beyond just the time instance and looking at, personnel and labor costs and things
Yeah.
like that too.
That's a good point. And the big thing with that we have to make sure to push, and this is not just Blitz, this is across the board. It's assistive. It is not replacing. Well, I don't want to get rid of a position though, but yeah, we can reallocate that position to something else. We're not getting rid of your people. Nobody wants to get rid of the jobs, but we are saving them time to do other items.
Yeah, and if you think about
So,
it holistically too, right? Because
mm,
we run enterprise organizations as a city, right? And we
hmm.
know that budgets are finite, right? That are or
Yeah,
they don't have unlimited means, and so it's not a matter of eliminating a position, but maybe instead of having to put in that budget request for another position, maybe another department can put in for something that we can't use generative AI for, something like parks maintenance
yeah.
or a fleet mechanic, right? And instead of having the resources of the budget spent on another planner, well, now we actually can take a whole team approach to how we run and manage our cities.
Yeah, good point. And it's not just planners. Back to Clay. I know you mentioned plan reviewers, or I'm sorry, Chris. I know you mentioned plan reviewers and planning and zoning. It's not just your planning stuff you're saving. You've also got engineering, your street review, your public works review, and your building review. So it's kind of the whole ecosystem you're saving a little bit with, and able to reinvest into the city, the county, the municipality. Okay, let me go to the next one. So Real quick, geography of some of our clients. We are a startup. Like I said, we went public in April. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 6, 7 months. Sorry, I did just count on my fingers. Yes. And we have spread quite quickly. We're seeing quite a bit in California, and even aside from Blitz, California, they are ahead on tech and tech adoption. So I guess it's in the water, but definitely seeing California drive the kind of steer the boat when it comes to any type of tech. And interestingly enough, the APA Foresight Committee, most of the people that sit on that committee, they're also from California too. Definitely check out that committee if you're interested in AI. So next steps. What do we do? If you want to see what Blitz is, yes, we didn't do a demo live here because we do still have proprietary information, but we are willing to show you a demo if you want to see it. You can contact myself. I'll put my information in the chat. I think Micah also shared it on LinkedIn, but you can schedule a demo with us and we will show you our products live. There is no turnover. You actually see the product work live in the meeting. It's about 30-minute meeting. After you see the demo, if you're like, hey, we'd like to try this, we bring you on board for what we call a proof of concept. So we're not asking you to put anything up front. That's the thing with the trust when it comes to AI is getting our gov to trust us, getting the planners to trust us. So we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're going to give you a proof of concept. We're going to code a little bit of your code, not the whole thing. We're going to give you kind of like what I like to call the like going, this is a female thing, sorry, like going to Sephora and getting the sample perfume before you buy the big expensive one. We will code part of your code through 30-minute collaboration calls, not a lot of time on your end. That's where it comes in when we said this is not a heavy lift when it comes to collaboration, because we're more of a relationship than just kind of leaving you with the product. We will give you the product to test during this POC. So you'll get a few items. You'll get about 100 items to test on a site plan, which is fairly a good amount for planning and building. We'll collaborate 30 minutes a week. Then you'll get to test the product. So we'll actually give you the demo portal with some of your code in on the back end, and we'll let you test it before you decide to spend money. Because if you're going to take something like this to your city officials, to your elected officials, because AI is such a new thing in planning, building, and engineering, we want you to try it before you take it. Because we want you to have a really good argument as to why I want to automate this, especially since it's something nobody's ever tried before. You need to have everything you can in kind of your back pocket to support that. If you like it, we'll go through your procurement process. We meet you at procurement. We get everything done, and then we launch the Blitz product. And during the launch the Blitz product, we come to you, we ask, hey, how do you want your codes broken up, your building codes, your planning codes, and we tackle what you need in order of most importance. And I'm going to pop over. So I'm going to open up for FAQs here in a minute with Amitesh, who can answer some of the more tech questions, because I'm going to be honest, I'm an urban planner. I've been doing AI now for about, I met you last year, Micah, so about almost a year now, I think. And before I started getting involved in AI last year, I honestly was one of those people that thought it was Skynet. It scared me until I also realized like it's unplugged. But Alexa is AI. I did not know this until I started this company. My phone is AI. My robot is AI. Like it's still so new. I'm not your one to answer your AI questions. Amitesh is, and he's great. But a few questions if you take AI to your planning team, because no planner building official wants to be told to use something unless it comes kind of from them. It's like you want me to train on this? What do you mean? I don't have time to train on this. I'm busy. So we want to kind of prepare you to answer those questions your planners are going to ask you. And the first one, and mentioned this earlier, will AI replace me? AI is not going to replace you, Mr. Planner, Mrs. Planner. It's an assistive tool that's going to make you even better. And I hate to say it, but APA has already tackled it on foresight. AI is coming in the planning world. It's not a if it comes, it's a when it comes. The schools are going to start educating these kids coming up through these urban and regional planning programs. So pretty soon you're going to be hiring kids straight from school who have experience in AI and planning. So it's not going to replace you. But yes, you should educate yourself on it. Even if you didn't get a formal education in it, Micah's your thing that you have right here with the local government, that's a great place for planners to start if they've never dealt with AI. Coursera also, or just LinkedIn, great places to start. Educate yourself. Tell your planners to educate themselves on AI, just a base understanding. There's a lot of free resources or very cheap resources. But yes, the new planners coming up, they're going to know about it. So make sure you tell your old planners it's not going to replace your job. I promise. You're still going to be there. You're there to guide the AI. It's assistive. Okay, this is not the motor industry. How should urban planners prepare for integration at work? Somebody's going to probably ask you that. Okay, Mr. City Manager, you want me to use AI? How should I prepare for that? Well, something small, staff reports is a good place to start using ChatGPT. Maybe remind them that the Google Edit or Grammarly that they use on their computer is a very simple AI. Um, it will start to be integrated in what we do with our planning commissions, with our citizens. There's a lot of citizen engagement AIs out there right now to get citizen feedback. One of the things planners has always suffered with is getting feedback from citizens, elected officials, city managers, comprehensive plans. You guys come to us and you're like, hey, figure out if they're going to like this project before I put my neck on the line. Well, getting feedback from citizens is hard. There are a lot of programs out now that do that. You're also going to see it integrated more in the building and the planning field, like I'm talking to you about right now. Site plan review, you're going to see integration. ChatGPT already does so many things. You're going to see integration with Esri and GIS, and it's already doing it too. They just don't really call it AI. You've got model building with Esri, and it's one of those things that you can't stop. The train's on its way. So we kind of have to acclimate to that and get used to it. Data privacy concerns. I'm actually going to let Amitesh hop in on this one. Hey, Amitesh, what data privacy concerns related to AI should, if a planner were to ask that, how would you answer that?
Um, as long as we have data privacy is a subject which is it keeps on surfacing in AI, but with the kind of advancement we are seeing in the current system and some of the things what we have done even with our own solutions and Blitz, you have the provision of selecting what you want to kind of feed into these AI models. It's not like anything and everything will go into it. So you yes, there are concerns, but there are solutions which are doing things much better than them today to make sure that the data privacy is taken care of. So it's a breach or a hack is something which is a total security thing, but privacy stays intact, same protocols as we have otherwise.
Thank you. And that's a big thing for us at Blitz. For Blitz ourselves, and Amitesh pushes on this one, everybody from the planners to the sales team to our project engineering team, we all take cybersecurity training. It's a big thing. Nobody wants to be the next person in the newspaper that got hacked by Belarus. So that's a question you need to be prepared to answer if your planners ask, well, hey, how do I keep this? Okay, this is another one, Amitesh. Will AI make urban planning less human-centered because planners are about people?
Well, we said that ours is an assistive tool, right? I mean,
Mhm.
technology is only enabling you, so it is making it more human centered, making it more closer to your making, you just said that, happier citizens. So AI is actually enabling that journey more. This all started with the digital transformation, what we see, but now AI is helping to leapfrog it further. So I think it's not going to make it less human centered, it's going to make it more human centered, right?
Mhm. I think getting your time back, whether it is a generative AI such as
Right.
ChatGPT or what we do at Blitz, getting your time back is going to make you a more human-centered planner because you're going to have time to actually talk to your constituents within your area because planning is about people. I didn't go to school for site plan review. I was not taught site plan review in planning school. I learned that on the job at the municipality. I was taught how to talk to people. But my big complaint when I was a planner municipally is I don't have time to talk to these people. And I have my city manager asking me what the opinion of these people are, but I don't have time to talk to them. That's what Blitz is here for. That's what AI can help us with. And then the last one is my favorite question is, okay, I don't care about your AI product. I don't care about your chat GPT. Is there a way that I can avoid AI at my work as a planner?
It's already there, right? It's already there. It's all around you. So you may want to avoid it, but it will not allow you to avoid it, right? It's like it's just pervasive. So um, it's better to be on the leading curve, leading edge of the change that is coming with all the AI innovation that is coming. It's helping in many ways. So why avoid something which is making everything better, right? Yes, of course, any changes takes its own time, but this is happening. So
Coming.
don't avoid it. Okay.
If somebody does ask you that, for anybody on this chat, just take a quick look at what type of phone they have. Okay.
Exact.
Because it's
That's
got it
AI.
on it. Yeah. As long as it's not a flip phone, right? A brick.
Mhm.
But yeah. So Blitz, quick overview. We are here. We have a program that automates certain aspects, quantitative aspects of site plan review. And we would like to help you get housing off the ground faster. And we're also putting our money where our mouth is, and we will let you test the product too. So, and that's a big thing is making the trust. We want the trust before you commit to anything. So, any questions?
Brittany, this has been super, super insightful. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Amitesh, as well, too, for your time and for doing this. If anyone has questions, feel free to pop them in the chat here. I have a couple questions that came to mind as you were talking here.
Yeah.
The first thing I was curious about is, I know maybe it's just unique to the local governments I've happened to work in. Maybe it's just an Arizona specific thing, but sometimes we look at our code, there can be conflicts where one section of the code says this way, the other section says this way. When you're bringing the code in, is there any review to check for conflicts or things like that might be in the code, and how do you resolve that?
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I don't know how many times when we sat in the beginning and I told Amitesh, I said, some of these codes fight against themselves. And then I was like, you shouldn't say they fight against themselves, but it's true. It's do.
True. Yes.
They do, especially like an engineering section fighting with a planning section. For example, in my old city, the planning section said you could not have cul-de-sacs, but the engineers, man, they loved cul-de-sacs. When we're bringing you on board, I'm going to speak to the planning side, not the IBC IRC side, okay? We sit down with your planners and say, what are your favorite zoning districts? Not favorite, which ones do you use the most? And we tackle your base before we build in the more. We will discover those in the customization process. And then that's when it comes down to, because the AI is going to catch that and it's going to give you a negative, a false negative, or a false positive, but it's going to catch those issues. So what we do during that process is we have planners on staff. We read your code before it even goes to Amitesh's team. And you'll get an outside opinion on your code. And we'll say, hey, Micah, for your city, it says this here and this here. Before I send this off to PE, what's your interpretation? What are you looking to review in this? So we're not taking your your entire code and we're coding it all at once, because that's not going to work. We've had predecessors that have tried to do that, and it doesn't work to code a whole code. So we're taking it in bite-sized pieces, kind of eating the elephant one bite at a time. And we will discover that in the conversation process of sitting down planner, talking to planner. And when we get to those, we're going to ask you, what are you looking for? Because it's not going to help your planner if they get a false negative or false positive. And then it goes to Amitesh, the code section, they'll code it, and it'll go back to your team to test it a few times. And the city planner for your city may say, this isn't right. It's kind of not getting the way I interpret this. We'll go back and we'll keep tweaking it. But it takes a conversation. We're not going to code two different things for the same item. We're going to get you and get that specific answer. So
perfect. Yeah. A similar question to that as well, too, is you mentioned the landscaping time saved, and it reminded me of HOA CCNRs and the different landscaping designs they have. How could a city bring in those CCNRs as well as their landscape plans to kind of layer those on top of each other to understand, okay, what does this really need to look like, especially in those common areas. The CCNRs deal with individual residential stuff that cities don't really have a hand on. But in terms specifically within those common areas that cities are, want to have look nice, the entrances to the HOAs, those main drags to those HOAs. how would it bring that in to be able to check for how much shrubbery or things like that?
The first thing, and we like to say this on Blitz, is that the onus of a good plan is always on the submitter. It's on your developer. And I know sometimes, not sometimes, Brittany, most of the times we're all still getting plans still on a napkin and we're still getting hand-drawn plans. So the first thing we do is we will put your site-specific codes in. So your HOA codes, but we also have to make sure to check it. You'll get your UI updated for those. And then you've got to make sure that the plans that are submitted are good plans. Not every plan is a good plan. Some plans do have to still be manually reviewed just because the plan is not a good plan. And that's nothing against it. You could run it through any automation and it's just not going to work. Like you can't, your planner won't be able to read it. But we put everything in, we put your site specific code in, and then we make sure to run the plans through the system. It's looking at geometric, you're looking at textual. But just the big thing is making sure that the developer is submitting the right stuff too, in accordance to all those guidelines. And that's kind of where the back and forth goes. Your team will still be able to use the program and run the same plans through the program as many times as they want to until they finally get the developer to submit what they need to submit. But it looks at the public realm, it looks at the private realm. It's covered almost everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I have one final question for you that we'll wrap things up here. Brittany, you obviously know, working in local government, how much a lot of the trust is built by hearing from other local governments and what they're doing with it too, as well, and picking other people's brains in the practical side and hearing people from like how are they using it. Would it be possible for us to reach out to some of the folks that are using Blitz permits and kind of pick their brains about how they've implemented it? What are some of the benefits and the time save that they're seeing, and talk kind of local government to local government?
Yeah, we've got recommendations. Sorry. Yes, we have recommendations. We can get you in contact for them for a recommendation, basically. I've got my channels manager on here, Amrita. Do you mind tossing yours and Bhavish's email in the chat for me? Bhavish is our senior account manager, and Amrita handles channels, conversations between local governments and us. But she can get that information out to you if anybody on here would like to speak to them before they try a POC. That's definitely something we're willing to offer.
Wonderful.
I
Perfect.
just saw your thing. I just saw your little mic pop off.
Okay, well, perfect. Thank you again for joining us and for a really, really insightful conversation here. As you mentioned, AI is here. And one of my favorite things is the phrase, AI won't replace you, but someone with AI will. And so to tailor that specific to planning, AI won't replace planners, but a planner with AI will. And so to learn how to use these systems, to see the time saving involved is just incredible. Thank you again for all those who stayed on the call this entire time. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon, wherever you're at, to join us. And those of you watching YouTube, thank you again for watching this YouTube. If you have any questions or comments for Blitz permits, feel free to let me know in the chat or in the comments below. I'll pin a link to their website, blitzpermits.ai, on the top of the comments here. That way you have quick access to that. You can learn more about their product on there. So until next time, thank you again, Blitz Permits. Thank you, Clerk Minutes, as well, for your sponsors of this network. Appreciate your time. And thank you to each one of you for being innovative and being curious about AI and willing to take the next step and be leaders in this space. Really appreciate it. And my hat's off to every single one of you.